Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's football show here on STV. The main talking points on tonight's programme: Rangers manager Mark Warburton is far from happy with the criticism following their Old Firm defeat. Celtic captain Scott Brown says the performance against Barcelona was unacceptable, and St Johnstone captain Dave Mackay retires. Just a few of the topics we'll be discussing on the programme tonight. Back from Barcelona, now fully refreshed, Alan Rough alongside me, Peter Martin. Let's first of all deal with Mark Warburton. He's been speaking ahead of their weekend game in the SPFL against Ross County. Not happy with the fallout from the game against Celtic, just basically because he felt as if the criticism was over the top. Well, I would suggest to you, Ruffy, welcome to Glasgow, welcome to the high-pressure job that is Rangers Football Club.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. It's so high profile when the two meet, everything is at stake, and if you're in the end of a 5-1 defeat, you have to accept everything that goes with it. You can try and talk it up, you can try and say at some parts of the game you thought the team was playing well, but at the end of the day, I think Celtic was so far in front and the scoreline was there for everybody to see.
Yeah, and the other point about this, I don't want to get into whether, beg your pardon, English-based journalists give them an easier ride or have a greater perspective on anything. Everybody's got their own take on it. The most important part of this is the fact that Rangers fans don't accept a 5-1 defeat to Celtic.
No, and you can see that by reading the newspapers. Not happy at all. I think they all expected something a wee bit better. I do believe that they're watching a better Rangers side year on year. But again, when you come up against your biggest rivals, you don't want to be getting beat 5-1. You know, the supporters have to live with that. They'll have to live with the banter that goes with it. And some of them find it very, very difficult to accept. And
the Rangers manager goes on to mention that he felt as if the Scottish media are casting a cloud of doom over the game here. It's not a cloud of doom, it's a cloud of realism of where we are, the standards, the levels. You only have to look at how many clubs are actually performing in European football, the money that we have at our disposal here. You know, these are things that you can either fudge the issue or tell the truth.
Yeah, and the consolation to him is if it was a reverse role and Rangers had won 5-1, you know, he'd be loving every minute of it, and Celtic would have to deal with it. And that's the way we are. But as you just touched on it, we're not a massive big country, so every pages of the newspapers are going to take a game like that right into the depth of the newspaper. So it is analysed by everybody to a man. So I think you just have to get used to it. It's part and parcel of our game. The Rangers and Celtic are the big noises.
I could see this one coming, Ruffy. I mean, I could see the build-up before it. You know, it's just another 3 points. No, it's not. And I knew exactly where the fallout was going here. And every journalist could have said a similar statement on this. You lose that Old Firm game, you know, whether it's Brendan Rodgers or whether it's Mark Warburton, you're getting it in the neck. But the performance of the Rangers side, I think, is where quite a lot of people, fans, you know, people who are looking at the game from a journalistic point of view, that's where the criticism has come from.
Yeah, and I don't think it's just this game. Obviously, the one each draw against Hamilton, the one each draw against Kilmarnock, you know, these things at Rangers and Celtic aren't really acceptable. They might be acceptable down in England, but when you're chasing, you know, Celtic at this particular time, you want to be winning games. But and moving it on a wee bit, there's now Brendan Rodgers is getting questioned as well after the Barcelona game. There are now people looking at the tactics, looking at the formation. Could he have done better here, there? And that's just part and parcel. When you're a manager of a big side, you have to be accountable for everything that you do.
Well, it's funny you saying that because I was watching with great interest the Champions League programme on ITV last night with Roy Keane, and Roy Keane was very critical over Celtic's ambitions in European football, well aware of the domestic situation, but he was heavily critical of their ambitions to actually go and compete. 7-0 not acceptable. I have to say, some harsh words from the former Celtic and Manchester United player, but should they have spent more bearing in mind the money that they are not only going to get from the Champions League, but the money that they were taking in prior to it with Brendan Rodgers being announced? There's a fair bit of balancing of the books here. Should they have been more ambitious with the players, or would that have mattered a jot against the likes of Barcelona, who were, as we both found out, simply scintillating?
Well, I think it might have mattered if another 2 or 3 quality players had come in. It possibly wouldn't have been 7-0, but I think everybody at Celtic will tell you that they were actively behind the scenes trying to identify players. But from the supporters' point of view, they would have liked it been pushed out a wee bit quicker. I mean,
You're not buying into that, though, are you,
No,
Robbie?
no,
They're actively... Listen, every club, in fact, Celtic and Rangers have been actively seeking players. Every summer transfer window, the reality for Celtic fans and Rangers fans is, don't tell us about actively seeking, have them paraded in a Celtic strip.
Yeah, but again, you know, what the powers that be will tell you is that they'll sit back and they'll look at the situation they're in, and as far as Celtic's concerned, they'll probably look at Rangers and say, are we good enough to win the league? The answer to that, I think we all agree, would be yes. Look at the group we've been drawn in Champions League football. Are we going to get into this group by spending another 10, 15 million? I don't think the answer to that would have been yes either. So
it's a defeatist attitude, just solely on business.
Well, you could turn it that way. Yeah, I think it's all about money in the bank. It's always been secure. You know, we're the people who look after the business and the club's future. You know, I'm sure the supporters would be happy to be so ahead of Rangers. They'd be so happy to be in the Champions League, and that
you don't seriously think that there's an argument to suggest had Celtic pushed the boat out for a couple of more players, possibly 3 players, that would have put them in a perilous situation with the money that they have. Seriously, Ruffy?
No, but you know the way it works. You know, if you're talking about, do we need to spend 12 million or do we keep the 12 million? Because if we keep the 12 million, we've got more money in the bank and we don't need it. Look at the team we've got. Yeah.
So it's a defeatist attitude. Just accept what you've got coming to you, and as long as the books are balanced.
I don't think you expect what's coming to you.
Yeah. You didn't expect a 7-0 gubbing from Barcelona.
I didn't.
I expected 5.
Well, I thought maybe 3 or 4.
Did you?
Maybe 3 or 4.
Oh, 1 or 2 out then, eh?
One of those. But,
so I'm a prophet of doom as part of the media.
You ask any Celtic fan out there, and that's the way Celtic has been run. The supporters all expect better players, but Celtic down the ages have dabbled in it. But I agree with you to a certain extent. Some Celtic supporters would have liked to have dabbled a bit more.
Yeah.
A midfield player, for example, you know, somebody comfortable on the ball has never been sought out.
Yeah.
Unless I've missed who he is.
Yeah, still haven't sorted the back line out. And I hate to digest it all, but I had a look at the game last night, the highlights again. I thought the keeper was at fault for 2 of them. The first one, stand tall, Ruffy.
Stand tall, yeah, but the guy, the attacker's coming in so fast and he's so near you, you have to make a decision. You're not going to expect him to hit it.
Okay,
if you stand tall, he beats you down low.
Hold on a minute, let me go over the goalkeepers' union then. Are you going to defend him for the free kick?
No, I think he should have done better at the free kick, but who am I to question anybody at free kicks?
That's how to make the show switch from an argument to a lighter moment. Of course, the papers in Barcelona, it was incredible after it because they were wondering about the Alaves defeat and then how they were going to bounce back. And this one here, Sport newspaper, we managed to speak to Javi Giraldo from Sport newspaper on last night's programme. But it says here, quite simply, Xavi has reason to believe, obviously, that Leo is the best in the world. I don't think you get too many arguments with that. And then just below it there it says, the crack Argentine returned to prove that he's the #1 in the world with a display of exhibition football. And I think, I don't think you get too many people disagreeing with that on the basis. Listen, there is an argument I would suggest to you that, you know, Barcelona can take 7 off many a team, not just a Celtic side that, you know, has downtraded down through the years.
Yeah, I know Celtic had beat 6-1 in one of the games at Barcelona. I just thought Celtic could have been more organised. I think they could have been more defensively minded. And again, I don't know if you can question Brendan Rodgers because he likes playing Sinclair and he likes playing the Roberts on the other side. They're not defensive midfield players. They're attacking players. So really what you're going with is Brown and Beaton.
Well, this is what I'm going to say to you. This is not unjustified criticism. The Celtic captains came out and said this was unacceptable.
It was, the performance was poor, but again with the team selection, when you're going to be backs against the wall a lot of time, you're going to expect your two wide players to be defensively minded. I don't think either of these two are defensively minded at all. So, and if you look at the success that Celtic had against Barcelona, particularly at Parkhead, where they got all tight together in defence, made it very difficult for Barcelona to come through. Barcelona were just free flow, just going through Celtic at will. So I just thought, tactically, they could have been tighter.
Okay.
Much tighter. Really tighter.
No, don't give me a really hard opinion at the tail end of it. Give me it at the start when we ask the question. More from Ruffy and myself. We'll talk about Dave Mackay of St Johnstone and look ahead to the weekend's games in the Premiership. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's football show from European football. It's back to the domestic scene. Alan Ruff alongside me here. We'll be looking back to the Premiership, Championship, League One and League Two on Saturday's programme. Ruffy, of course, Mark Warburton Rangers at home to Ross County. But interestingly enough, Hearts manager Robbie Nielsen's been having a little chat, saying that he doesn't think that the Hearts side are starting to get a reputation for diving. What do you make of that comment? Obviously, when you think of the various instances that have come up over the last few weeks.
Yeah, I think Hearts have been very aggrieved by, obviously the first incident against Celtic. They appealed that one, and obviously when your other players start talking about Tony Watt, start talking about him. I don't think. I think he's just trying to make a case, that his players do not do it, And when you look at it, I don't think the Tony Watt one. I don't think there's anything in that one at all. Certainly, we saw the Celtic one. There was definitely something in that one, but I think he's just trying to put referees straight. When their players are in the box, they're not actively diving, because referees do hold court, about players that they come to referee against who are partial to diving in the box, and sometimes if you get a particular player who falls into that category, sometimes good or bad, it goes against them.
Yeah, absolutely. But nevertheless, this is a Hearts side that we'll be hoping that they don't get a reputation for. I think Robbie Nielsen was quick to point that out, speaking ahead of the game against St Johnstone. And of course, as many a manager can look at an angle on this, it's because Hearts are attacking that much that they're in the penalty box more often than not. Yeah,
and they've got players who attack it at pace, players that make defenders make decisions, to stick a leg out. And again, we keep hearing this, players have it in their mindset, if it's contact, then you go down. I think what they have to realise is it enough contact to go down? Because if you do start getting caught out all the time, you will get a reputation.
Yep, okay. And they're taking on St Johnstone. I think there was a little sniff and suggestion of it from Chris Miller when he was on the programme in the last few weeks. Suddenly Dave Mackay, the captain of St Johnstone, has decided to retire. The hip problem just became too problematic for him to shake off, and at 35, 36 years of age, he decided enough was enough, Ruffy.
Yeah, it's a horrible part in anybody's career. When that time comes, fortunately for him, it's an injury. He doesn't have to make it for footballing reasons. But I would like to think that what he's taken out of the game, obviously the fantastic Scottish Cup win, will be something that will live in his memory for a long, long time. I do hope that the club respect what he's done for them, and there is a position there somewhere, until he actually finds out what he's going to do. But at 35, 36, it's a good run. I do feel really sorry for guys who only get maybe 3 or 4 years out of it, but good run. But it's a horrible thing to try and get your head round that it's come to an end.
I don't think there's a negative that you could possibly lay at Dave Mackay's feet, because quite simply, he has been what we would call an 8 out of 10, possibly every week of the season, and he is now accorded legendary status at St Johnstone because of that Scottish Cup win.
Yeah, and as you know, and I've said on numerous occasions, you're always inspired by people in your own dressing room, and I think when you're in a dressing room with people like him and you're looking about, seeing the the guys that you've got when your back's against the wall, you know, what kind of players you need. He certainly comes into that category, and I'm sure he'd been a great inspiration to all the players up there.
Yeah, OK, there's a small matter of the Lanarkshire Derby, Ruffy, something I always like, a bit of a feisty affair at times it can be. Motherwell at home to Hamilton Accies. Mark McGee looking for a confidence-boosting Derby win. It's amazing how a Derby win can suddenly buy you a couple of weeks.
Certainly can, and this derby has been very good down the years. Always been very competitive. Lots of goals been scored as well. And both teams will know a win can just kickstart the season. You know, I thought it was a good result for Motherwell last week. They've signed another player, so Mark is gradually trying to replace the people that he's losing. But with home advantage, you will think he can win that one. But Hamilton have been again the surprise package this year.
Yeah, you can tell Mark's ducking and diving with the finances. He's re-signed Lee Lucas after a successful trial period, so he's still trying to use the best of what limited budget he has.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask anybody down the bottom half of the league, you know, that's what it's all about. It's obviously they'll be going to the owners and saying, look, this is what I need, you know, to push me into the top six, and you have to have owners that are gonna back you. Yeah, but like everybody, you have a budget. You know, we keep hearing about one in, one out, and that's the way they have to live by.
Yep. Have you got a gut feeling on that one?
A home advantage again, but again, I keep saying about Hamilton. You know, they're terriers out there. You know, they're fighting for everything that's available, and they've certainly got players in their ranks now. I'll keep fighting for 90 minutes. So until you're actually a couple of goals clear of Hamilton, you're not a given to win that game.
Yep. Killie against Partick Thistle also taking place at the weekend. Are these two going to be the slowly but surely you're looking at, you're thinking, are these two going to be the teams involved in that relegation battle? One of them trying to avoid the playoffs, the other one just trying to go automatically down.
But that wasn't the case at the start. The League Cup section, Partick Thistle looked as if, you know, they'd improved from last year. They had a great League Cup, but then the league starts, you don't get the results you should get. Unlucky last goal against Hearts, and just can't get a win just now. But it is a big game. Again, we speak about Motherwell and Hamilton, you know, 3 points there. 3 points to Partick Thistle can take them up, well up nearly to top six. You know, there's only about 3 points between the bottom two and the rest. So 3 points is vital even at this part of the year. Yep,
OK. Of course, the two games that we're looking at as far as the weekend's concerned that are moved to the Sunday, Dundee against Aberdeen and Inverness Caledonian Thistle against Celtic as well. It's a strange situation. You know, Celtic can go from the role reversal of winning an Old Firm derby and then the levels of being thrashed by Barcelona, and now going into Inverness, it's now Richie Foran who has to face that similar situation of trying to cause a shock against a side that can easily outspend them.
Yeah, and we know that Celtic are going to that game as favourites. We know they'll get back on the rails again. They've got better players in Inverness. They know they'll get quite a tussle up there, as they always do. But again, Celtic will get the right players back again. I'm sure they'll just take over for where they were against Rangers last week.
Yep. I don't think there's any doubt about game of the day possibly well, there's two in contention, Ruffy. You can tell me in the Championship this weekend that I'm really looking forward to. Hibs take on Ayr United. That's not the contender. It's Falkirk Dundee United or Queen of the South Wraith Rovers. Which one gets the nod for you?
I'll go for Falkirk Dundee United. I think that'll be a good game. It'll be a good atmosphere. Both sets of fans. I'm sure Dundee United will bring a fair number through. There'll be a great atmosphere in the stadium. Falkirk just beginning to get themselves going. I'm sure they'll be disappointed with what's happened this year. But your man John Baird coming up with some goals at the weekend, and that's what they need. They need like somebody like him to get on that run again.
I'm not going to bet on John Baird getting a certain... I don't think I've got a big bet this time. I can't bet on Beardy getting 20 this season. I just I'm going to have a chat with him first to see how his fitness is. But there will be a bet coming up, Ruffy, I think, between the two of us. Little wager always keeps us going to the end of the season.
Yeah, it does. But I hope when we do decide what we're going to do, that we keep it going right until the end of the season, instead of one year's been so far ahead and it gets dumped.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we'll do that. We'll start that up with the predictions as well. We haven't been doing too well with our trebles. Can I ask you something? A Queen of the South surprise for you then, Ruffy, as far as the Championship's concerned? Because apart from everybody tipping Hibs to run away with it, maybe you think it's going to be tighter. The Queen of the South certainly are in the mix, and I did not have them certainly second place.
No, but any time we went to see them, it doesn't matter what manager's there, they play attractive football, good football to watch. But now they've changed that into goals. They're scoring goals, which is always good at any team you're at. And certainly at the weekend, if they win that one, you know, you really have to sit up and take notice of them.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that hearing reports of people watching them is that they might not have individuals. Obviously, we mentioned Stephen Dobby before. We've mentioned Derek Lyle, but they work their socks off.
Yeah, I just like the style of football. I think we saw them at Hearts one year, and I thought they outplayed Hearts on the deck and never got much out of the game. But certainly, if that's the way they continue to play, I'm sure that we'll have to keep our eye on them.
Yep, it's good to be back in Scotland, Ruffy. Tomorrow we'll be joined by Des McKeown on the programme. Will give us a look at some of the lower league stuff and his insight into the Championship, League One and League Two. But good to be back here, and of course we brought the sun with us.
Yes, we did. I was surprised. It was getting very warm over there, and it rained eventually.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd warned you it was going to rain, but you never taken heed of my weather forecasting. But no, it was a beautiful city. Didn't get a chance to see a lot of it, but I'm sure the supporters, as the ones that we interviewed, had a fantastic time with her there, and they'll be eagerly waiting in the Germany jaunt.
Yes, absolutely, and fingers crossed I'll be able to suffer you for that one as well. Thanks very much to Ruffy. Join us tomorrow. Des McKeown will be our boot room guest. Good night.